Well, I'm so happy to have you guys here. This is our February webinar for the fort. So I'm glad you are with me. My name is Emily Muccianti, and I'm going to talk to you all about the fort and give you some ideas and suggestions and kind of a path, hopefully, that will help you to put this behind you, get it done, get it passed so that you can move on. That's the goal, right? So first, I want to talk to you just about our agenda. This is how we're going to run tonight's session. First of all, let you know a little bit about me and why I do what I do, the experience I have. We'll talk about what I do to help other teachers as well. Talk about my course that is designed to help you work through and prepare for the Foundations of Reading exam. We'll also cover the Fort 890 and 190 content so that you know what is required of you as far as the knowledge of specific content. We'll talk about the sub-area competencies. If you are somebody that took the RICA, it was always called sub-tests. The fort does not have sub-tests. They have sub-areas. We'll talk about those. We'll talk about the different Foundations of Reading specifications, and then go in specifically about my course, my new course, Fort Prep 101, and how that can help you. And then for those of you that are interested, if you'd like to stick around after I end the recording, what I'll do is take you inside of the course so you can actually see it, see what it looks like, see all the components of it, to see if it might be something that you are interested in using to help you prepare. So again, my name is Emily Muccianti. I am a reading specialist. I was an interventionist for many, many years. I've spent 27 years in the classroom, the majority of that in intervention in K-12. So I have a lot of experience, still continue to support and train teachers, particularly reading intervention teachers. And my journey started when one of my son's teachers reached out to me when I was the reading specialist in our district. And she said, Emily, I have this RICA that I have to take and I can't pass it. And if you're not familiar with the RICA, that was the Reading Instruction Competency Exam in California. And so I started tutoring her out of my home, and I got really comfortable and familiar with the content and realized this is what I was living and teaching every single day. So I turned it into a digital course, and that was about 2017 that I jumped into that. I used to hold workshops in my classroom on Saturdays for the teachers in the Fresno area. And my family and I moved to Boise, Idaho about 5 years ago, and that's where I really pretty much semi-retired and continue to support teachers with the RICA and with their other trainings and coaching for reading intervention. So it's a 30-year plus career, and I still love it. I'm doing it's a lot better, I will say, now being retired and just getting to work with all of you lovely people. I know the struggles and the challenges and have jumped all of those hurdles myself. So I know what you're going through. And I hope that my experience can help make your journey more pleasant. So first of all, Fort Prep 101 is the name of my course, and this is a digital course that I created after the RICA was retired, and it's really designed to help teachers who are preparing for the Foundations of Reading test, either 890 or 190. Now, 190 is the older version. They're kind of rolling that out, but the content is virtually the same. And right now, there are 17 states that require the RICA, require the fort. And California is new to this just in the last few months. I have a pretty strong reputation in California. That's why you'll see a lot of people here in California, because I've helped hundreds and hundreds of teachers over the last, 6, 7, 8 years. And happy to have you, especially if you're somebody who was referred by one of my former students, which I love. This is also for those of you that are looking for a structured and supportive prep guide so that you have a mentor and somebody that you can lean on if you need additional support. That's why I created this. One of the challenges of preparing for any of these exams, as you guys know, is it's very dry content, and it's challenging. It's like learning a foreign language, and if you're using a prep book or just the website from the testing manufacturers, there are very little visuals, very few visuals that go along with this. So when I created my course, it's very visual, it's very interactive, lots of videos, that kind of thing, in order to keep it more engaging for you. This is also really for anybody who is maybe feeling overwhelmed by the science of reading content. That is really what the direction that the nation is going into the science of reading, and it can be quite challenging. And then finally, it's for those of you that are looking to also gain professional development as you are preparing for this exam. You'll hear me say this a lot. This exam is the requirement, obviously, for all of you, but the opportunity that it presents to you is to learn about something on a much deeper level that maybe your universities did not prepare you well enough for. In the classroom, you're going to need to be a strong literacy teacher, no matter what grade you teach, no matter who you're working with. And the content that you'll learn from this exam is going to help better prepare you for that. So the exam, most of you will be registering for the Fort 890 version, but some of you may be the 190. There are a couple of older versions that are just have some minor differences. But right now, this exam again is required in 17 states, including California. It is required for all elementary and special education teachers in those states. The main focus of this is on the science of reading and structured literacy. So it's got a very heavy phonics type of content that needs to be mastered. It's also looking to measure your foundational knowledge about reading and instruction, which is about the pedagogy. This is how we teach anything well. And so you have to not only know about the reading component, but also teaching as a science itself. And so this new test structure, for those of you that may be familiar with the RICA, this is going to have a more focused type of content target. And it is a little more streamlined. The constructed responses are not worth as much in this particular exam as it is in the RICA. For some people, they like to know that because that can feel a little bit challenging. So let's see. Also, for other teachers, if you are a teacher that is already credentialed somewhere, you're a single subject secondary teacher, and you want to move into the elementary space, this exam would be required for you. This is required in most states for private school teachers that are getting a multiple subject credential, pre-K teachers through third, if you're early childhood specialist, or ed specialist, which is our special education. Also for teachers that were credentialed or prepared in another country, if you're coming into the States wanting to clear your credential, this is going to be an option for doing that. And also those who did not pass the RICA in California, as of, actually that date's different, it's October 31st. And then one final one that I found was kind of interesting. Teachers who actually were prepared via the Peace Corps have to go in and take the Foundations of Reading test also. So the structure of this is as follows. There are 100 multiple choice questions and only 2 constructed responses. The exam time limit is 4 hours. So there's also an additional 15 minutes of just kind of walking you through how to use the computerized platform when you are in your testing center. But you will have 4 hours to answer 100 questions and those 2 constructed responses. And the passing score is going to vary by state. In most states, it is a 240 is the passing standard. In California, they've lowered that to 224. And there are a couple of other states where there's a little bit of a variation in scores, but they range between those 2 numbers. If you are out of state, or out of California, I would recommend going to your state's credentialing website in order to confirm some of the specifics for that. The scoring breakdown. So the multiple choice component of the exam is worth 80% of your score. And the two constructed responses are only 20%. So each one of those constructed responses counts for 10% of your score. And the cost is right around $139 to register for that exam in most states. Again, there might be a little bit of variation there. But you are able to go to your state's website and pick up the information about that. In fact, I'm trying to look and see if I can, whoops, that's not the one I wanted for you. Hold the phone, I'll get that back on. I will pull those links for you to the website at the end so that you can grab that. Okay. So there are 4 sub areas, and the sub areas are reflective of the content. So the 3 sub areas are really about what content you are going to be focusing on. The 4th sub area is the written responses, but it's still the same content from one of the first 3. So the first sub area is all about the foundations of reading development. And this is the content that will have the majority of your questions on. So 35% of that 80% is going to follow in sub area 1. And we'll talk about specifics of what that looks like. The second main area is going to be sub-area 2, which is all about reading comprehension. And then sub-area 3 is all about reading assessment and instruction. So it talks about differentiation, scaffolding, different types of assessment, that sort of thing. Sub-area 4 is the 2 constructed responses. So the first constructed response is going to focus on that sub area 1 content, which is the foundational reading skills. The sub area 2, the written response number 2 is going to focus on sub area 2, which is all about reading comprehension. But before we dive into all of these specifics, I want to give you a moment to just look at the bigger picture here, because this is really where we start inside of the course. Before you can dive in and learn about the specifics of an exam of any type of content, you have to have a working understanding of the bigger picture. And so that means, how does reading develop? And that's a really broad, big question to address. So I want to give you a couple of things to kind of chew on right now that I think are going to help you no matter what you start with. This first image is called the simple view of reading. And this is a representation of what we know about reading development. And it is intended to, as it says, simplify a very difficult, complex topic. What we know based on this is that there are 2 main aspects to reading development. There is the aspect of word recognition and the aspect of language comprehension. And when these 2 things are multiplied together, the result is that a student should be able to look at the print, decode the print on the page, understand what the words and the message is, and then gain comprehension from it. That is reading comprehension. So if we break this down further, our sub area 1 is all about this first piece. It's all about the word recognition. We talk about the phonological awareness, the phonemic awareness, the phonics, the fluency. This is about decoding. This is reading the print, knowing and decoding the print. The language comprehension side of this, along with the reading comprehension, is really sub area 2. And this is where we're looking at, what do the vocabulary words mean? What are the language concepts? Do we understand the syntax of the language? Are we able to communicate a message? And then the result of that is reading comprehension. So too often, teachers approach reading comprehension as if it were a single skill. They approach it one way, they try to teach it one way, try to assess it one way. This is the first misconception I want you to flip your thoughts on. Reading comprehension is not one thing. It cannot be taught one way. It cannot be tested one way. Reading comprehension is a product of all of these skills working together. That is exactly what it is. And so in order to be a teacher at any grade level that can help their student comprehend what they're reading, we have to have an understanding and a mastery of all of these earlier sub-skills. So when we look at this more specifically, we go into Hollis Scarborough's reading rope. And this takes that same idea of the simple view of reading, but it gives us more finite skills to draw on. If you consider this like the equals sign of the formula and the reading comprehension, the goal, the product that we're always seeking with all of our instruction is skilled reading, right? This is the fluent execution and coordination of word recognition and text comprehension. When a student or a person has all of the earlier skills working together well, the result is that everything's nice and tight, and we can comprehend what we're reading. Now, if any of you have been in the classroom, and I know most of you are, you know that many of our students are not skilled readers by third grade and on. And what we have to do, if that's the case, if we have to use assessment, which goes into subarea 3, we have to use assessment in order to backward map where the problem is. So we have to do testing to figure out, is there a gap in word recognition? If there is, where is it? Is it with the phonological awareness, the decoding or spelling, the sight word recognition, or is it up here in reading, language comprehension, or could it be anything? So the broad concept here is that reading is not one thing. It is a culmination of a number of different sub-skills that have to work together seamlessly in order to make reading smooth and comprehensible. That is the goal. So no matter what you do in your preparation with the fort, start with this concept, because just memorizing vocabulary, just taking practice questions is not going to get you the pass on this exam. You have to understand the workings of how this all comes together. Okay, so with that, let's jump into some of the specifics of each of the sub areas. So sub area number 1 is called the foundations of reading. This is really where we start with our students in kindergarten, pre-K with their phonological phonemic awareness. They start to develop concepts of print, alphabetic principle. They start to learn the letters, the sounds of the letters in the alphabet. They start to blend. Then we move into more basic and advanced phonics so that we are now able to sound out words, decode those words. We can get into word analysis, which is more of that multisyllabic word reading for especially our older students, and our decoding. And then another area of this is about the relationship between oral language and written language. This is something that the RICA never did. And from a teacher's perspective, this is really an important piece that was missing out of the RICA. So I'm glad that it's here, because for you, it's going to help you be a better teacher. But we have to understand what oral language, how that impacts and improves our students' reading. And then, of course, the written language is equally as important. The next sub area is really about the reading comprehension piece of this. This is that middle part of that formula that we just saw. And this is where we talk about vocabulary development. It's one thing to be able to decode and say the words, but do we know what the words mean? So we get into, how do we support vocabulary development? How do we enhance comprehension strategies and make changes and adjustments based on the type of text, whether that text is a literary text or an informational text? How do we help our students develop academic language so that they are sounding more well-educated, if you will, or more professional, and they understand what that type of sentence structure is. And in this particular sub area, there's going to be a number of questions specifically related to diverse learners and English learners. And the reason for that is that vocabulary development is particularly challenging for our English learners, right? It's a whole new set of language that they have to draw on. So you will see a number of questions related to that. The third sub area is the assessment and instruction. And this is where we are looking at different types of assessment, both formal assessments, informal assessments. We're using our data analysis in order to use the data from the assessment in order to plan and guide our instruction. We talk about instruction from the standpoint of how do we make our instruction and all of the learning accessible to all of our students. So we have to talk about differentiation and scaffolding. And how do we support our students that may have reading difficulties, particularly dyslexia? So all of this is what is going to make up that sub area number 3. Now, that final sub area is related to the constructed response. So there's no new content coming in. What it is an application of the content that you learned in sub area 1 and sub area 2, and you are now applying it into a hypothetical situation. So the first one is going to be related to the development of the foundational reading skills. So this is again sub area 1. Your second one is going to be related to reading comprehension. So you will be writing 2 constructed responses. You will be presented with either a scenario or some data. You'll be given a situation. You might be given a passage of what the kids have read, having kind of a script of what the student said. And you have to look at all of this and determine what is that student's strength and what is that student's weakness. And then how are you going to teach, or what strategy will you use in order to facilitate the improvement of that weakness? So this is about the application of the knowledge, and it will not just focus on theory here. Now, being a teacher that did this for my career, this was what my whole life as a reading specialist was. It was analyzing data, trying to determine what that student's strengths and weaknesses are, and then making a plan for instruction. That's exactly what this exam is asking you to do. And you do have to have clear and concise writing. That is key. But inside of the course, I do walk you through that so that you have a kind of a template and a guide to what this would actually look like. So some of the logistics of this: the exam itself is registered through the National Evaluation Site, which is NES. You can get this through your state teacher credentialing office. So if you're California, if you go to the CDC website, it is going to have a link there. It is offered year-round. There is no talk anywhere of it retiring like the RICA did. It's been around for a number of years. It's used in the majority or many states. So you know that it's going to be here. So you've got lots of opportunities to take it. There is the cost of that is going to vary by state. One thing to know is you can take the exam at a testing center in your local location, or you can opt to do an online home proctoring. I will caution you a little bit. If you're going to do the online proctoring from home, really look into that if it's a good situation for you. There are a lot of parameters in order to keep that testing security. And I've heard horror stories about people being kicked out because like their kid walked in while they were testing, or the dog barked and they kind of turned their head, and they have to, and for 4 hours, that's a long time to keep your attention right in front of you. So just make a really wise decision for yourself. The retake policy. So if you take this exam and you don't pass, In most states, there is a 45-day wait period. It's a little bit less in a couple of states. I can't recall. It's like 40 days in some. So you're going to want to, again, check with your state site. So what they do is from the date of your test, if you don't pass, you have to wait 45 days from that test date in order to test again. And the reason for that is because there are cycles for the versions of the testing, right? There might be 4 or 6 different versions. And in order to ensure that you don't just jump back in and take the same exact test with the same exact questions, they want that delay so that there's a new version coming out. So if you are on any kind of a time crunch, if your school district is saying you have to pass this exam for credentialing by such and such a date, you need to keep the wait period in mind as you're preparing. There are also alternative testing arrangements that are available. In most cases, an alternative testing arrangement might qualify you to have extended time. 4 hours is a long time, I know, but it may allow you to extend that even. Some of the qualifying factors that I know for a fact have been accepted are things like if you have a cognitive learning disability like dyslexia, if you have attention deficit disorder that is documented by a doctor, if you have anxiety that's documented by a doctor, if you have, if English is not your primary language and so you need additional time. Some of those things are necessary to show documentation in order to receive that accommodation. Again, this is something that you can apply for on the testing site. It doesn't cost anything to apply for it. So if you think that that might be a benefit to you, then look into it. There are practice tests available on the website, and I'll drop all of those links for you at the end of the webinar so that you can grab that. You can actually go in to the NES website for the fort and see quite a lot of detail in what it's asking you to do. So you might want to take a look there. Any questions about the exam itself before I move into kind of my course? Okay. So Fort Prep 101 is my course that I've designed in order to help prepare you for the Foundations of Reading exam. This course is fully asynchronous, so it's all been pre-recorded. I cover all 4 of the sub areas with different video lessons. It's slide deck with voiceover, and I'll show those of you that want to see it. I'll show you what it looks like when we're done here. There are a number of different resources, PDFs, guides. There's a companion workbook that I created in order to help guide you through your preparation. So there's just a lot of support. This is a comprehensive course, so it covers everything. I also, for those of you that want to consider doing what we call a VIP membership, I also offer constructed response coaching where I will read and critique and give you feedback and guidance on your constructed responses if that feels like a weakness for you. And, you know, the course is designed to be very visual and interactive. That's how I learn best. I'm a very visual learner. Just reading something out of a book is a little more challenging for me. And so I wanted to make sure that this was visually engaging so that you could see examples of what all of these ideas and topics and strategies actually are. There is actually a mobile app for the course. My web host is Kajabi. So if you go to the App Store and you search Kajabi and you look for their mobile app, you can actually access the course there. So let's say that you were working on your laptop at home or your tablet at night, and then you wanted to review something at school on your phone. All of those things will sync. And so you can access it through that app if you want. And all of the membership options that I offer, actually there's 3 membership options. 2 of them are 1-year membership. So you purchase it one time, you have unlimited access for that year. And that means that it is not a subscription. So the yearly membership, once your year runs out, you don't have access any longer unless you wanted to renew it. I also offer a monthly subscription, and I'll talk to you. That one does renew each month. It's a subscription-based model. And so I did different options in order to give you a pricing option that might be helpful and fit into your budget. So we'll look at those shortly. So when you log into the course again, when I take you in there, I'll show you. I just love this picture because these are members of my RICA Prep 101 course. We did bi-weekly workshops, live workshops. And so everybody would come in so that I could go through the content with them live. They were super awesome. And so I always love to get a picture of them from that. So there's Jessica. These are my sweet past RICA, some of my RICA folks, and they are on the homepage of my course. So that's just a shout out to them because I love looking at their smiling faces. So I want, in addition to everything that I'll talk to you about what's available in the course, all the things that I've already mentioned, there are a couple of things that are also coming up. This course is very new. It's only been around for 6 months. And so membership is really small right now. Once we get a big enough membership, what I would like to do is go back to offering either workshops live like I did with the RICA or boot camps, which I did during vacations and summer. And so that is going to be something that I'm looking to do over this summer, where you're with me, say, for 4 or 5 days, and we are spending 3 hours a day going through this entire content so that you're nice and solid on it, and we talk through it together. Now, this actually has already happened. So in addition to everything that you have access to, if you would like to receive a single unit of PD credit from UMass Global, you don't have to be a UMass Global student to receive it. We get units as teachers from all over. So the reason for this is professional development. And that means it's 15 hours of content that you are going through, and you can receive a unit for that. The reason as a new teacher you want to get units as quickly as you can is because the more units you have, the more money you make on your salary schedule. So the units are available now through UMass Global for $60 a unit. So you can get a single unit. That does not go to me. That is the payment to the university for the unit. And that is available. I've already started that partnership with them. So I'm pretty excited about that. But I want you to understand a couple of things, because this is really about, I think, my mentality as an instructor, right? I could come in and I could tell you, you need to learn this, 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 and this. Not only do I tell you what you need to know, but I teach it to you. So this is not just me giving you a list of things to study, not at all. This is me teaching you each and every content piece component that you need to know for this exam. So it really is about you getting the knowledge that you need in order to become the kind of teacher that your students need. And that's a really knowledgeable, gifted educator who can take their problems related to literacy and apply a solution. That's what this is about. And I don't know if you know this, but approximately 50% of new teachers leave the profession in the first 5 years. That's scary after all the money, all the time, all the stress that you have spent becoming an educator. But it's true. It's a statistic nonetheless. And so many of them state that they are leaving because they do not feel prepared for teaching. Unfortunately, there are a lot of universities out there, particularly those that have alternative certification programs, that aren't doing a great job giving you the actual tools you need to be a good teacher. You're jumping through the hoops, you're paying your money, right? And you get a credential and you walk in and it's like you are on the front lines, and a lot of teachers can't handle that. So this is more than preparing you for the test. This is professional development in structured literacy and the science of reading. It's about real classroom realities, not just theory. You are actually going to walk away with instructional practices and strategies that you can use in your classroom tomorrow. I still have RICA students that have active memberships, and they've passed the exam and they use it because it's good professional development. So you will walk away with more than a passing score. You're going to walk away with a foundation that is going to help you change the lives of those students. And so in so many of the cases of your students, you might be their last line of defense. So you have to know your stuff. So if I were to say, who are my people? Who are the ones that I think will get the most out of this course? It's all about you and what you intend to put into it. But my ideal student is a teacher who is preparing for your career that's going to make a difference. You are the teacher that you want to be, just like that favorite teacher of yours when you were a kid, that one that changed your life, right? That one that never gave up on you, that one that made it click. That's who I'm looking for. So if that's you, and you will love this course if you are committed to being that teacher. If you're committed to being passionate about literacy and student success, if you are coachable, if you understand that as a new teacher, you should not, nor do you know it all right now. There's so much to learn. I still don't know it all, and I've been in this business over 30 years. If you're willing to put in the work in order to gain long-term success, if you can look beyond this exam, and if you're ready to move from confusion to clarity, and you're looking to gain the knowledge with support, you're not just looking to memorize a list of terms, okay? You'll get that, but you want more than that. If that speaks to you, you are the people I'm looking for, truly. You are the ones that are going to take this, pass the exam with it, and grow as a result. So the course is built for the teacher that you are becoming, not just the test you are preparing to take. When you go through the course and you prepare to be that teacher, you will pass the exam. And that's because you are fully invested in it. And that's really how it was designed to be. Now, I would strongly urge you to check me out on Google, okay? If you Google RICA Prep 101, I want you to go and read the testimonials from past students of mine. Over the years, I've had more than 200 teachers that have taken their time to leave me a review, and I have a 5-star review on Google. And it's because I am a teacher. I teach it to you, right? I'm, like I said, there's some scam people out there that are like, learn this. Here's the website to go to from the testing center. And they don't really teach you much, if anything. And that's not how I approach this. So please go to Google, look up RICA Prep 101 and check out those reviews. I want you to, I know it's different, like, people say, well, how do you believe you? Like, right? It's me. I'm talking about me. So don't believe me. Go listen and believe them. So let's talk about the course options. So if you're interested, okay, if you are interested in becoming a member, here are the membership options for you. I have 3 plans. The first 2 are yearly memberships. So it's a one-time fee and it lasts 365 days. So a standard membership costs $147. This works out to be about $12 a month. It's a one-time payment. I'll talk about what it is in a moment. The VIP membership is $187. This works out to being about $15 a month, again, 365 days for access. And then for those of you that you don't think you need the year, or you like the idea of paying smaller amounts, but just more frequently, then there is a $47 a month membership. This is a 3-month minimum required before you can cancel your memberships, unless you pass. If you pass the exam and you share your testing scores with me, then I will cancel that before that, but that's really the only time. So what are these memberships? All of these memberships include the entire asynchronous course with all of those videos, all of the PDFs, all of the planners, workbook, all of it. And the first one, the standard membership, I think is ideal for those of you that are really self-paced. You want full access, and you might want to reach out to me via email on occasion, but you don't need my help with the writing, right? You're feeling pretty confident about that. That's really what the standard membership is for. The VIP membership is somebody who wants to have a closer access to me. You want to have, you want to be able to reach out to me, hop on a Zoom call if you need, you want me to read your writing, give you feedback, which we do via Google Docs. And this also is the membership, and the only one that if you want the unit, if you want the single unit, this is the membership, because I have to read your writing. That's part of the course requirement for the unit. So this is that option. And again, the monthly is it's just a flexible type of payment option for you. It's the same type of, you get the same content. Now, I just appreciate your time so much, because I know carving out any kind of time in the evenings is challenging. So as a thank you to you for my live webinars, I always offer a 10% off coupon. So if you are interested and you're like, I like this idea of the course and you want a discount, I offer a 10% discount. It will expire this Thursday, so you have until Thursday. If you use the coupon code FORTNEWBIE29, that's today's date, this is going to give you that 10% off. I'll show you how to do that when I shut off the recording, but there's just a spot for a coupon code whenever you enroll and you drop that in. Now, let's say that you reach out to me on Friday and you say, hey, can I have that coupon code? I was at your webinar. No, it expires on Thursday. You'll have to wait for the one next month and come in for the next one in order to get that. So I hope that that can be something that you will make that decision. Now, here are the next steps. Here's what I would suggest. So if you are interested, join the course. Enroll today. You can start immediately. Everything is housed at emilymuccianti.com. There are my other courses, which again, when I turn it off, I'll show you. My current RICA Prep members, if they have an active membership, have access to this course inside of RICA Prep 101. There are a few of those left, not many, but there are a few. So that is there. And don't forget to follow me. I have a YouTube channel under both my name, which is my intervention channel, and the Foundations of Reading channel. Follow us on Facebook. If you are not a member of the Facebook group, Fort Prep 101 with Emily, join that. I'll drop all those in. And then I also want you to write my email down, okay? readingdiva06@gmail.com. If you have any questions as you're working through, a decision or anything, don't hesitate to reach out to me. So at this point, if you have any questions, I am going to turn off the recording, and I will take you behind the scenes so that you can see what this course looks like, and I'll answer any additional questions. Again, if you go to emilymuccianti.com, you can navigate it there yourself. And but I'm going to take you in and see what you may want to know. All right.